sadly, Missy is a cosplay I have yet to acquire. Alright, back to Big Finish, and now I'm going to talk about the other box set that I picked up while I was at Gallifrey 1 back in February, before we were all forbidden to leave the house. And that is Missy Series 1. Now, because the other one that I picked up at the time was the War Doctor Series 1, and I listened to that one first, and was very much disappointed by that, I wasn't entirely sure of what to expect from Missy Series 1. I'd kind of had my expectations cushioned. Thankfully, I didn't really have to worry. A much better comparison is definitely the War Master Series 1, although the tone is distinctly different, but definitely in terms of overall format. That is 4 stories more or less independent, or more accurately, 3 stories more or less independent, and then a 4th story that sort of picks pieces from the previous 3 and brings it together for a little concluding thing. Although, interestingly, even the 4th one is pretty self-contained until it gets to the very end and starts tying the threads together. So, structurally, it bears a lot closer resemblance to the War Master than it did the War Doctor. And for me, that's a good thing. I found the War Master a heck of a lot more inventive and exciting, whereas the War Doctor I found to be annoyingly predictable. And this definitely is not that. Now, here's the main thing you need to keep in mind. Tone-wise, this stuff is borderline parody comedy. Each of these stories is very much taking a jab at some style of storytelling, and it is very much done in a lighthearted way. The first story is very much a take on Mary Poppins. Missy literally becomes the governess of 2 young children and takes them out on adventures. And then the second story, it has the meddling monk in it, and that becomes a much more of a sort of arguing buddy dynamic sort of thing. The third story is a complete and total takeoff on like really bad true crime programs. The really overdone with the recreations with actors and like, but there's a narration saying the thing that you're seeing, and then you see it, and then the narrator reiterates again, like completely going nuts with that. And then the last one, sort of, it takes the longest to figure out what is Missy up to with this, although that is actually an element to all 3 of these stories. You don't really know what Missy's up to. Missy is at the heart of all 4 of these stories. And the thing that's fun about that is we're not with her the whole way. We are usually starting out with other characters, and then Missy shows up. And we're left as listeners wondering, what are you up to? And here's what I really love about this, the whole thing overall. It really very well understands how Missy is different from other incarnations of the Master, while not forgetting the things that still make her an incarnation of the Master. So when you're dealing with incarnations of the Master, especially if you're going to base a story around them, then you're largely going to be dealing with scheming, plan-making, grand visions for universal conquest sort of deals. And we pretty much got that with the War Master, with a little bit in there of he's kind of on the back foot, trying to avoid being sucked into the Time War again. Now, with Missy, she is scheming, but she has way more fun than pretty much any other Master ever did. That's not to say that the Master never had fun before, but generally if the Master ever had fun, it was either in the glee of what he thought was going to happen if he succeeded, or in tormenting the Doctor specifically. At least personally, I didn't necessarily get a sense that the Master always took glee in all elements of what he was doing. But with Missy, oh yeah, she's going to have fun while she's at this. You had a little of that with the John Sim Master, but with Missy, it is all out. And that is sort of what she brings to the table with that incarnation of the Master. A much higher emphasis on her having fun, which, because of her whims and what she considers fun at any given moment, also makes her much less predictable, which I really, really enjoy. Pretty much all the other Masters, the only thing that makes them unpredictable is whether or not you can figure out what plan it is they are trying to execute. Once you understand what they're trying to do, the Master's actions are pretty easy to suss out. Missy, you could know what she's after and still be like, I don't know what she's gonna do next. And I love that. It is so much fun. Michelle Gomez is clearly having an absolute blast at this, especially when she gets to do these horrible fake accents. She gets to do it in 2 different stories, in the 3rd one and the 4th one. And oh my God, it's so bad. Like, on purpose. Purposefully, gloriously bad, as she pretends to be someone else and does these insane accents. Oh God, it's so good. So if I were to look at each story individually, I really do enjoy them all, and it's hard for me to pin down a favorite. I think maybe the 3rd one, which is the detective crime story pastiche, only because it's so meta, and it surprisingly, like, when it started and when I started to get the sense of how Missy fit into this and how it was going to play out, I was like, are they going to try and justify this in universe for how this is playing out? Because, you know, there's so much fourth wall breaking in this. I don't know if they can justify that. I might just have to roll with it. No, they actually find ways to sort of explain and integrate and justify it, which are very cool. And also there's a lot of just neat twists and turns to that one. And the meta nature of it especially yields some really good humor. I think behind that is the 2nd one, the one with the meddling monk, which, first of all, the 2 of them, anytime they're talking to each other, it is so good. I don't know if the meddling monk has turned up in other Big Finish before. If he has, this is my first time encountering him. And he's so much fun. And I like that he's annoyed that he's known as the meddling monk. He starts complaining about it when Missy identifies him as that. He's like, I dressed up as a monk 1 time! Why that? How can you keep calling me that? And Missy's like, alliteration trumps accuracy. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. His level of annoyance, her level of just flippance. And also she needles him because that story is set in the time of Henry VIII. And she asks, so when you first landed here, where did you land? Was it a monastery? And then he's just like, it's great. Her just driving him nuts. And the 2 of them trying to outwit each other because they both kind of think they might need each other, but they also definitely don't trust each other. It's great. It is fun. Fun is the word for this entire box set. I mean, if I were gonna rank them over them all, I think I would probably put the 3rd one at the top, then the 2nd, the 4th, then the 1st. But it's not a huge drop-off. That's a pretty tight, and like, even the 1st one is a lot of fun. And the other thing is that for all the fun that it is, that last one especially, even though it still keeps some of the humor, does a pretty good job of reminding you that Missy is dangerous, that Missy is the master, and that if keeping someone alive doesn't make her feel like she's having fun, she is capable of monstrousness. And I really like that was in there, because the risk is always sort of having too much fun and being too lighthearted about a monstrous character. And that last story, while certainly not going as dark as something like, say, the Sky Man from the War Master box set, is still really good. And when you get the full scope of what it is she's doing, how she's been going about it, and her end game in all of it, yeah, you realize, oh, right, it's a bad idea to let our guard down around you. It kind of serves in a way the same purpose of her killing Oswin. Sorry, not Oswin, Osgood. I always do that. Of her killing Osgood. And the reason that had to happen was because she's so much fun, you start to forget that she's dangerous. And so the fourth, and it was really good that it was the last story. The last story, as you uncover the full nature of what it is that she's been doing and the callousness with which she's been doing it, it starts to seem like, oh, right. And you almost feel a little guilty for having rooted for her up to that point. And you should. And it's great. I'm not going to go into spoilers really on any of these because honestly, I'm just going to recommend them. Just straight up all of the whole box set. And the box sets I'm usually hesitant to recommend because they're expensive. But this thing is really, really good. And all the supporting cast is great as well. So, like I mentioned, the highlight of the supporting cast is easily the actor who's playing the meddling monk in the second one. And especially, he sort of gets flustered when he knows he's in a situation where, like, I don't think I can talk my way out of this. And he gets this sort of, yeah. And this sort of flustered nervousness that I really enjoyed. And it also does a good thing with the way they built, again, much like the War Master in terms of laying seeds in the first three that don't feel like seeds at the time, but then all that gets harvested for the end. And actually, I would say it actually does that particular thing a little bit better than the War Master. I keep comparing it to that one. It's hard for me to say which is better because no single story in this is better than, say, the Sky Man from that previous War Master box set. But I do think that the overall experience of this, and especially the concluding part of it, is better in Missy Series 1 than it was in Only the Good, the first War Master box set. But they're both good, and this was fun. This makes me want to grab another series worth of Missy. Because God, she's good. She's so much fun. She's just a rip-roaring good time. Missy, Series 1, Big Finish box set. You listen to it, what'd you think about it? If you haven't, what box sets would you recommend that highlight either an incarnation of the Master or a villain of some kind? Whatever your thoughts on any of this is, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. You can help me out by supporting me on Patreon, and you can also help out on here with the usuals, like, subscribe, that bell. Go ahead, hit that, do all that. There's also links in the bottom. Click on those. Or don't. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Because at the end of the day, you're the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.